Welcome, everyone. This is Charmed Life, my podcast, and we are live streaming today through multiple outlets, including YouTube, Facebook, and some other places. But I really think that YouTube is the best hub for this, so that might be how you are finding this. My name is Tricia Carr. I am an intuitive, a spiritual teacher, an empathic channel, and a transpersonal hypnotherapist if we haven't met before. And I want to invite you to like, subscribe, share, comment, and click the little bell to get notifications on the YouTube channel about when I am going live. Now, I'm doing my podcast live here on, live streaming. Like again, YouTube's the best place for it. So that's kind of what I address when we're doing this live stream. And today I was meant to have a guest, but my guest didn't make it. So if you saw that, those who are showing up live, well, it's just going to be you and me. And I guess that's just how things were designed for the synchronicity to fall into alignment because we needed to spend some time together. So I'm excited to hang out with you. If you are joining live, I want to just welcome you to drop a comment. I would love to hear from you. Let me know where you're viewing from. And we have questions and anything that you want to do to join in the conversation. It's super fun to do this. And then, of course, if you're listening or watching the replay, well, I hope that you know that your energy, your heart, your desires, and your, just the way that you are moving forward is all included in this as well. It's pretty amazing because when you watch something or listen to something in replay, Spirit knew you were going to do that. Yeah, Spirit did. And that's why it feels so genuine, so true to us when we listen to podcasts or videos from, another time. And we have Tracy joining us. Hi, Tracy. Nice to see you. And so, for example, I was just listening to an Abraham Hicks video right before on my way into the studio today. And boy, did it light me up. I felt like I was right there in that hot seat. So we're all here together on the quantum timeline, which is above and beyond the timeline and the time space of the physical reality, yet is very interested in, concerned in serving the physical time space. Well, we were going to talk about mindfulness today, and I'm going to weave some of that in because what I wanted to chat with you about is how to discern the difference between intuition and not intuition. Because intuition is something that many of us are looking to enhance. Hopefully all of us, genuinely, honestly, hopefully it's all of us. Because the reason I say that, let's start with point one, is what is intuition? Now, intuition sometimes is associated with having contact with past loved ones, angels, spirit guides. And yes, that's true. That's a part of it. But fundamentally, even those outside spirit guides that would be helping us, they are pointing us to ourselves. They're pointing us to our inborn, in living essence of intuition. So intuition is how we are guided in our own life. I love how human design talks about what is correct for us. Correct is better than right or wrong, because correct is also embracing and enhancing, highlighting the fact that we are an organic being. Organic, composed of light. That's what organs, that's what material is, actually light, actually compounded. Your physical existence is light repeating itself trillions of times over and over. And I mean trillions because if we consider the fact that we have the neutrino field, which is subatomic particle field, trillions of neutrinos passing through us in every moment, which is creating the sense of informing us about what is correct for us, how we are to move through this beautiful world that we are in. And there is no separation between physical reality and spiritual reality. And the still small voice of your intuition is actually what is helping to bridge that spiritual reality and the material reality, because we do have a perceived veil between material and physical. That's true. And what's kind of really beautiful, if you think about it, that we perceive a separation between material and physical. What's beautiful about how that bridge is made is that intuition occurs in your physical body. below the neck, in the core of your body. That's where everyone's intuition is resonating. And so it's actually in the deepest part of our physical reality where the spiritual voice, both spiritual and physical, but let's just say spiritual voice, is actually housed. Isn't that cool? I think it's really cool if you think about it, because we perceive a veil. It's like spirit, angels, all this, and my eternal soul is way out there. I know, but when I say soul, you probably think, wait, I think my soul is here. Yeah, exactly. That's the voice of the intuition coming in. So what's really beautiful about all of that is that we all know what our intuition feels like. Why? Because it feels good. Actually, Abraham Hicks was talking about it in the sense of, well, shouldn't my guidance system, my inner guidance system, be louder? And she said, well, no, because everyone knows what feels good and what doesn't feel good, which takes me to my bulk of my chat here, how to discern the difference between intuition and not intuition. Now, before I head into that, because by the way, some things fake feel good, right? You know what I mean? We've been in those relationships that we thought that felt good, but they were actually, or a food that we think tastes good, but it's not healthy for us. Okay, just to give you a little teaser. But before I get into that, I wanted to share something with you, because if you are interested in building your intuition, I have a brand new, as I'm recording or broadcasting this, a brand new community that Tracy's a part of, who is here with us, that I have a brand new community for developing intuition, intuitive abilities, meaning like your psychic abilities, and your manifestation practice. And it is, because it's already has the momentum, it's already happening. It's amazing. And I'm calling it Sacred Sphere. Rather, we're calling it Sacred Sphere because it was a while in the making, this place for us to meet. By the way, we're meeting twice monthly for us to come together. I have many people who have gone through my intuitive skills development program, like my mediumship program, multidimensional mediumship, I should say, animal communication, intuitive development, and these different programs where we actually teach psychic skills. And they want a community, they want a place where they can regularly practice with people who are fresh to them, who they haven't worked with before. So that's one of the reasons for it. But the other reasons are serving everyone. I would say then it's also for people who aren't interested in practicing being a psychic, because maybe they want to receive readings now and again. And then for everyone, it is for the development and the enhancement of our intuition for our own life, as well as our practice in manifestation. And these are kind of like a yin and yang together, the manifestation and the intuition. And I feel like I witness for myself and all of my clients, students, friends, and so on. I witness that people who are on a spiritual path, they are spiritual seekers in whatever way that they are. Sometimes we forget to pay attention to our manifestation practice, and it really does need to be attended to with a specific practice. Likewise, I have students who are phenomenal psychic, intuitive readers, healers, channels, but sometimes we get knocked off with our intuition for our own life. We can read for other people miracles for them, and then we're like, wait, what do I do with my life? And so we need some support in enhancing our intuition for our own life, because those things, do come naturally for any and all of us, and for spiritual seekers or practitioners, and I should say practitioners. I want us to come together in a place that's high vibrational, consciousness expanding, so that we can commune, fellowship, and practice. So there will be meditation, there will be lessons, and there will be breakout rooms to practice things such as giving or receiving readings, and manifestation techniques and intuition techniques for yourself, for your own. So we'll have things like conscious questions, little exercises. So you'll be able to pick whatever it is you might like to practice in a breakout room, or you can just get to know each other and care about each other. Because I also see this as a consciousness project where we come together and we expand by witnessing and reflecting one another, by praying together, by creating a collaboration of energy that is whole and that is loving and compassionate, and it is sent out into the world. So check it out. There is the opportunity to either subscribe so that you get 2 sessions per month with the replays for 20% off of what it would be to just drop in. And you can read all about it. It's really exciting. There's the link for it. And so I wanted to invite you to join in that. Our very first meeting is this coming Sunday, as I am live streaming. That's this Sunday, October 8th. Now you can join anytime. So that's what I wanted to share with you. Now, also, I wanted to tell you that my 2 main signature programs, multidimensional mediumship and animal communication, are both now available to on demand, that you can pair then with this sacred sphere, which then will give you the practical. So I listen to people saying, oh, I can't do it then. I really want to do it. And this is my response to it. That way it's evergreen, it's available, it's alive. And then you can bring your actual practical application to it, to the sphere. So those are a couple of areas I wanted to direct your attention to. We have the mediumship link I just put in there. And now I'm going to put animal communication in there. And then you can add that sacred sphere. So back to our chat. How to discern the difference between intuition and not intuition. So as I said, intuition occurs in the physical body. Your intuition is in the body from the neck down. And if you are in learning about human design, or you're in your human design experiment, you will hear about your authority. And that's another way to say how you will know your intuition, how it is unfolding for you. And that is all in the body as well. And especially, so for example, I'm a reflector. And so in a strict traditional human design manner of speaking, I have no inner authority. That's how it's not true. But, it's like, or some people call it lunar authority, where I make decisions after at least 1 month of going through the lunar cycle. And that's all true. The way it's stated sometimes doesn't really ring true for some of us reflectors. Honestly, all of the reflectors that I've talked to. But anyway, having said that, that doesn't mean that I can't make a choice for myself in my life. And I have to make choices every day, right? And some choices are more correct for me or not. In the way that I would have a sense of what is correct for me today is my intuition that is occurring in my body. And that is, for me, it can be in different areas of below the neck, but it does seem to centralize in the heart and gut area. And so, anyway, just to give us a little understanding of that. So again, how to discern the difference between intuition and not intuition. As I mentioned earlier, intuition feels good, It is an encouragement. It's a healthy feeling. And even when there is something that is a caution, it will still feel good as you receive the caution. You can then choose to respond fearfully after you receive the caution. However, in the moment that it is experienced, the intuition about something, even if it's a caution, it feels positive. It feels healing. And so there's what intuition is and what it feels like. And what it is not looping thoughts. It is not confusion, and it's not centered up here in the head. The head mind is really the passenger to the gut mind, the heart mind, and then the other way that your intuition is showing up for you, like as your human design authority, how those are being filtered, or how the cycle of that is being made aware to you. And then these things pop up to the mind that's more localized to the head, and that's the passenger. It is the task doer. We have logic, reasoning, analysis, willpower, and decision making that occurs more in this conscious mind aspect. This is subconscious, this is conscious. And we do need this part. We actually need both, all of it, and we need to know when we are doing one or the other. Because if we receive, for example, something that comes at us and we feel it strongly in the body, and it's a not intuition, the head mind can come in and say, that's not logical. So what I mean by that is if someone says to you something that's gossipy, you know, someone says like, "Ooh, this person is out to get everyone." And then it can kind of hit you, and you might not even realize at first that there's a slight fear. You might just notice it as excitement. I mean, I think we can all relate to this. It's happened. We notice it as excitement, and then there's a kind of like, ooh, yeah, I want to get that person, or I want to blame that person. You know what I mean? And it's a false feeling goodness. And then the head could say, wait, is that logical that this person is out to get everyone? Is that gossip? So it can actually come in and help to filter some of that stuff that is going wrong in the subconscious, you see? So we have to be able to be more clear about what is intuition and what is not intuition. So let me break that down for you. Some of the ways, some of the things that are not intuition. Not intuition is anxiety, fear response, depression, because anxiety and depression are kind of two sides of the same coin, or addiction. Now, I'm going to break down each one of these, but I want to start with addiction in case you're like, what do you mean addiction? I'm not an alcoholic or I don't have a drug problem. Addiction is a spectrum, of course, right? Isn't addiction a spectrum? Addiction, if we think of it as a spectrum, even one that may not be devastatingly compromising our health to eat sugar when we want to be comforted, it still is actually going around a process that is healthy for us. It is a mask to something that is healthy for us, you know? Like, this is actually really interesting. Spirit showed me actually on the way we were in here that if you have an association with, let's say, sugar, that it will comfort you. And even if it's not like, oh, I don't have a huge habit of it, it's, every now and again I get a little stressed out and I want a cookie. Oh, maybe it's not compromising your health, but it's still not a healthy choice, especially if it is to comfort us away from processing something negative. Now, I'm not advocating for a purist lifestyle that you never have a cookie. I'm just talking about I'm talking about it wouldn't be healthy to have a stress experience and then falsely soothe it away with something like sugar, right? I mean, we can all agree on that, I think. Now, the reason that we might have that, yes, might be because of an association from childhood when we fell off our bike and skinned our knee and mom wanted us to feel better. And so she gave us a cookie with all of her, best intentions, or birthdays were so wonderful and we got cake and it was a great celebration. So, of course, these little associations are made, sometimes completely innocently, which is fine because then, it's our job to unpack those things, and that's a part of our individuation. It's a part of our personal development, which leads to our spiritual development. So, yes, if we want to eat sugar because we have an association of it being something very positive, yes, that might be one of the reasons why. But there's also something more fundamental to it, and that is that, let's say I have a negative feeling, a stress experience, and that is actually a kind of bad energy that wants to be processed, or it's not necessarily even a bad energy, it's just an energy. It's actually chemicals. It is adrenaline and cortisol, which are actually healthy to us in the proper measure and at the proper times. It would actually be healthy for the physical body, for us to have a stress response if we were literally needing to hunt for our food or run from for our lives, having a stress response that produced cortisol and adrenaline so that we could move, and that happening occasionally and appropriately is actually healthy for the physical body. And it would be in a big burst, and then it would be processed correctly because we would have run and we would have moved past the initial response, and it would have been removed by the processing experience of, actually fleeing or fighting or something along those lines. And so to cave dwellers, that was actually how their lives were. And it was healthy for them to occasionally have a stress response that created cortisol and adrenaline in the physical body. They would run, they would flee, and then they would be done. And then along the lines there, we also have dopamine being produced and all of that, but it gets removed from the physical body when the correct process follows it. Now, for us in our modern world, we aren't being chased by lions and we don't have to hunt for our food. We have a low level of stress response. Much more commonly, it doesn't get processed. We have a low to moderate level of adrenaline, cortisol regularly in our bodies. We get an email from our boss, or even just like we see something on Instagram and we get, and we get a low level of that more consistently and it doesn't get removed. That's unhealthy for the body. So again, when I say a negative chemical, it's not because fundamentally something like cortisol or adrenaline is negative. It's because the way that it's existing in our bodies and in our lives is unhealthy for us. So we have we have stress. We have an unhealthy thing that needs to be processed. Basically, it needs to come out. Well, that's uncomfortable. And so what do? The thing that's even more unhealthy for us, we actually take something unhealthy and put it in. You see, it's a false processing. Instead of processing something that comes out of you like that stress and that stress chemical, we actually take some other chemical, sugar, and we process it inward. It's still going through the same pipeline, if you will, energetically speaking, but it's actually compounding it. So that is when I say an addiction response. When sometimes people are like, oh, I'm going to intuitively eat. Right now, my body wants a hot fudge chocolate sundae. Well, does it, or does the stress response inside of you that's masking that? Yes, there's a craving maybe. That's different. A craving that is associated with something more of an addiction response is different than intuition. It's a false feel good, right? If you think about it also as lust. Now, lust isn't necessarily a bad thing if it is in a safe and correct expression of, we're talking about physical lust, with someone that it is safe and it is consensual and it is caring and all of that kind of stuff. Lust is something that can be positively infused into a sexual encounter. But lust that is causing harm to you or others in some way, even though it has this false feeling good energy about it, that pursuit energy that's not healthy for you, well, then that would not be that would be more in the alignment of an addiction voice than the voice of intuition. Now, the other three things I mentioned: fear response, when we feel a fear in our body and we want to, that's not the fear in the body that we feel. That emotions happen as chemicals all throughout the body, and then wanting to resolve it as quickly as possible by any means and moving quickly towards something that's not intuition either. And then of course, I said just stress, and kind of talked about stress already. The stress. And then of course depression, where we have that opposite feeling of anxiety. There's a fine line there, and we want to resolve it. And sometimes that can be related to the food or other addiction kind of soothing, false coping mechanisms. They're coping mechanisms, but they're false soothing mechanisms because they are unhealthy and they are ultimately compounding the lack of health that is already occurring within you. So we need to be able to discern the difference, to sum this up, between intuition and not intuition. And the not intuition, just a few of the ways I've been talking about so far. The fear response, a stress, a fear response, the thing that's like depression, anxiety, both of those are kind of one or the other. And then, of course, the voice of addiction, the spectrum of addiction. So that's what I have for you. And again, if you want a place where you can explore that more, we have lessons, we have community, we have ways to actually talk about it. You want to join my Sacred Sphere, there is the link for it there. That is a twice monthly meeting place, beautiful community where we're coming together as a place to develop community, yes, also intuition, intuitive abilities, and manifestation. And boy, manifestation has been just a thing for me lately. It's like I'm having a manifestation awakening, and I just love that about the lives that we lead. And I'm going to look at some of the comments here. We have Tracy saying, hi, sugar, one of my few remaining bad habits. Yeah. And, again, when we are shaming, and I'm not saying that you are, Tracy, I just want to address this generally, that we also can't resolve a bad habit by shaming ourselves. That's something else that is a false way to try to find our intuition. What we can do is nurture our inner being with the reasons why we would choose something that's healthy. Now, again, sugar is commonly used as a way to go around processing something that, again, if we're thinking of bad coming out, instead we put bad in to make it very, very too overly simplified. That's what's happening here. I have a friend who is on a sober journey and had for like 7 or 8 years, but had continued to smoke occasionally, and their habit wasn't even that compromising. They could go. I'm obscuring this person's identity. That's why I'm saying very little about them. And so, they could maybe have one a day or maybe go several days without one. It wasn't really like a big addictive a habit for them. But they said, I decided to cut it out completely because I became very aware of the fact that when I wanted a cigarette was because there was an uncomfortable feeling, some kind of uncomfortable emotion that I didn't want to process. And I just didn't want to do that to myself anymore, in addition to obviously poisoning yourself with the actual chemicals of the thing, right? But I loved the awareness of the emotional health that they selected instead by cutting out that habit. And what a beautiful example of a way to make positive and healthy choices for yourself. And let me see who else I have here. Oh, thank you, John. Oh, I love that. Thank you. John is saying that my engagement ring is so beautiful. That's really very kind of you to notice. My husband actually obviously picked this out for me. I mean, maybe it wasn't obvious, but he picked it out for me without my help because I'm kind of like, I don't know anything about jewelry. I've never been one of those people who's like, definitely want this kind of cut. So unfortunately for him, he had to go about it on his own. But what he did was, this is a conflict-free stone. It's a very, very old stone. And so because before there was the blood diamond mining, so it's a very ethical stone. And also what I love about it, the style of stones, of diamonds that were of that time, actually had color in them, whereas now the style is for them to be pure colorless. Like, that's a high quality diamond. And I like that it has color. So I mean, like, again, I don't care about current styles. I like what I like. Anyway, just talking about ethics and being eco conscious. So by the way, I'm feeling led, and we're going to probably close this one out. But again, if you have anything else you want to chat about here on the live stream, drop a comment there. That how we are, as I said, we're going to talk about mindfulness. Mindfulness has become so ubiquitous in many different arenas, in psychotherapy, which is so amazing, and of course in metaphysical and spiritual seeking circles, and even in just medical doctors are aware of how mindfulness actually just is making us healthier. So that, generally, building the mindfulness practice is what helps you to discern and continue to build the discernment, because it's a lifelong process between what is intuition and what is not intuition. And so giving yourself the opportunity to be in the moment and in your body. My husband does a mindfulness technique where he expands his awareness as wide and far as it wants to. So if he's on a walk, or if he's playing tennis, these are some areas where he's been using as a specific practice for mindfulness. He'll expand his awareness. Now, with tennis for him specifically, this has been a great outlet for him to practice mindfulness, because tennis is like, sports are generally kind of a war game, right? I mean, the racket would be more like a sword, I guess. But he wanted to make it to where he stayed in his body as much as possible, rather than abandoning his body with his awareness, judging himself, judging the moment. And he has, interestingly, found himself to have a lot more stamina in a game, to have less soreness or kind of workout hangover. You ever get those where you work out a lot and then you get a headache and stuff? He has and injuries. His injuries are way down just by having the mindful practice of staying present and staying in your physical body. And ultimately, that's what mindfulness is. It's staying in your body. The times that we go outside of our body, what I mean by that is projecting into the future, worrying about the past. Those are just some examples of it because we're trying to take our awareness to some other timeline that isn't now. We actually are removing our consciousness. We're removing our awareness from our body. Presence in the body is what mindfulness is. So then you can see how that dwelling in mindfulness helps us to stay in the body where the intuition is, where that small, still voice of intuition is. And if you want to get a little mystical about it, intuition is the voice of God in me, or I am, the whole I am identity. I love to look at different sacred texts, and there's one sacred text that kind of goes, and it's ancient in one thought or one paradigm, and then it's moved into another one. I'm talking about the Torah or the Old Testament, and Moses is introduced to God, and as he asks God's name, God says, I am that I am. And so if we imagine that we all each have an I am identity, that is how we are a copy of source energy or creator energy. An exact copy, though. If God identified as I am, my I am is genuine. And so I actually have this old series on my YouTube channel, on my podcast called Metaphysics of the Bible. And I realized that, we have this concept in religions about blasphemy. And it seems to me that ultimately blasphemy is speaking against the individuated I am. I am dumb. I am bad, whatever version of I am bad that there is. And that is truly blasphemy, speaking against, speaking falsely about God. In this sense, we're talking about God in me, the I am that I am of God. And now, again, where we might feel that, when I've done something wrong that I want to correct, it doesn't necessarily have to be an identity where I am bad. I have done something bad from which I would like to learn, and then perhaps I make amends or atonement. I give back the energy that I took too much of, and I learn something from it mindfully with my amends. I make reparations to the rupture that may have happened between myself and another resonant relationship, or myself and the resonant relationship to my ecosystem, the field, or to me. Yet to hold identities that are against the I am, that really does us a lot of harm. And I think that damages our intuition. And so we probably have a lot of those that we are sort of excavating from our shadow throughout our life because we didn't know better at other times, or maybe we didn't realize we were doing it at the time. I have someone here I want to highlight. This is Nature Girly 888. I love that. I have been lately expanding my awareness while driving and have been able to intuitively and consciously flow ahead of the moves of the other drivers that they're making. Ooh, that's cool. And what a fun game. What a fun way to play with mindfulness and your intuition. I think that's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's a great practice. Well, I think that's a lot of stuff that we talked about today. I had a really great time. And again, I will be going live either with a guest or on my own on Thursdays at 11 a.m. Pacific weekly. Maybe some exceptions here or there if obviously I'm not in the health of it. I'm planning on actually creating some more live times, both here on like YouTube, possibly on Instagram, and also on Insight Timer. these are some things that I'm cooking up. So check the show notes because I have for you the different ways that you can know when I'm going to do that. Primarily, especially, is joining my mailing list. My mailing list are the people who know about anything that I'm doing, that how you can play with me in these areas if you would like, including when I go live and all that kind of stuff. And also, by the way, I do give scholarships for things like my sacred sphere that I've been talking about. I'm going to pop that up here again. Sacred sphere, which is my twice monthly community for intuition, intuitive ability, and manifestation development. And I have scholarships that I give for that, or and other programs as well. And I only offer them on my mailing list. So that's the way for you to stay in on all of the cool things. So there's actually, I don't think I have it there as I'm doing this live right now, but there is, I will put in there, if you're listening to the replay, a link for a way for you to join my mailing list by way of getting something that is like a meditation or some other really cool free gift. Now, one thing else that I want to mention before I sign off is that I have my modern mystic. I'm hesitating because I'm multitasking. I'm live producing this show at the same time. Modern Mystic is a very low cost. It's just $11.11 per month. And this is a really rad community as well. Let me put that one up. We meet twice per month, once for a live meditation that I lead, and then once for a live cool workshop that I lead. And the workshops are pretty esoteric. That's the idea of it, to be exploring the space of mysticism. For example, I'm on this little bit of a series. I say a little bit of a because I did one last month. I'm doing one this month with channeling Archangel Raphael this month for the live attendees who come and for the questions that they're asking. I actually am staying in the channeling state, the whole, almost all of the workshop, probably about 90 minutes of the 2 hours of the workshop, with someone actually moderating. Have you ever seen how Bashar does it? He has someone like who brings up the questioners. That's what we're doing. And what's so rad about that is, it just, for me at least, it gets really deep. And so people ask questions about either themselves, like for personal insight. But I really love also the questions that are about, again, esoteric topics, like how the universe works, because I get to learn alongside. I have to watch the replay or read I transcribe it because I don't like to watch myself. It's like, it's too much. Not in a self-deprecating way, just like I'd rather read it than watch myself back. But anyway, I'm doing Archangel Raphael this month in the Modern Mystic. It's on October 15th. Yeah, that's when we're having that workshop. And then we're having the live meditation on October 11th. Anyway, $11.11 a month for those two things. Plus, throughout the week, 2 to 4 times per week, I deliver to you through SMS text exclusive content like parts of workshops, other meditations and things. So it's like a way to keep you kind of inspired throughout your whole month, honestly. And it's so low cost and the value is so high, and I just love it so much, and the community is amazing. So there you go. There's that. And let's see, are there new comments? I want to see who else is talking here. Oh, yeah. All right. So then finally, also remember that I have animal communication and multidimensional mediumship, which are multiple module courses that are now on demand for you to develop these skills. And then you can join the Sacred Sphere so that you can have the practical development of it in a beautiful community. I think that's it. Just to be able to remind you that your intuition is there for you, and you do have a relationship with it. You do know what it feels like to feel good, to feel a healthy, good feeling, and to deepen your mindfulness about that, to cultivate it so that the still small voice becomes more distinctive. It doesn't really become louder. It just becomes more distinctive, if you will. Like when you identify different flavors and your favorite coffee or tea or something like that, the more that you dwell in that subtlety of your own energy, the more it becomes clear, and then you trust following that guidance. So that's what I have for you. Well, thank you so much for joining me, whether you're joining live or on the replay. And I will be back very soon. And as I always say, if you're still here and you want to say it with me, thank you. Thanks for tuning in. I love you, whoever you are.